Hey guys, Pogo Hop here. So today we're going to look at Singapore's portfolio transformation through its 10K floating solar farm. This will be a case study in how it met its 2030 renewable energy target. So let's take a look. So let's take an overview of Singapore's portfolio problem. So at the system level, Singapore has two constraints. They're lower on natural resources and they have a limited land space. So this creates both a cost risk and a supply chain risk. In 2007, they invested $350 million into pushing out clean energy R&D research. While this expanded its technical prowess, a need for finding external sources to power it still remained. And through strategic collaborations with Southeast Asian nations, Singapore really balanced the generation with regional grid imports to reduce those risks. After that, so they began to find that solar takes center stage. By harnessing the sun's dominance, solar becomes one of the few domestic resources they can reliably scale from. So how did they select a project? It started with a feasibility test in 2016, where they built a 1 megawatt power testbed to see if solar was even a possibility. This marked a go or no go decision, also called stage gates as in PPMs. With it, they wanted to prove, and they did prove, that solar panels are better and more efficient than traditional rooftop ones. Once that was concluded, they moved to greenlight the project. So for stage gates, it's really used to validate feasibility before allocating any capital, and saves a lot of time and money. Let's dive into the overview and the timeline of the project. The actual asset, it covered around 110 acres with over 120,000 floating panels on the reservoir. The engineering for a constraints part gave it anti-glare coating, GPS anchors, and UV resistant bases to ensure a 25-year lifespan. So floating solar works here because it avoids land scarcity. It contributed roughly 4% of the nation's total energy output and 100% to power the water treatment systems with its green energy. So for the timeline, right, it had a long planning process, 15 years. Then in 2016, they did that pilot validation. Then in 2020 through 2021, they had a rapid construction phase where they slowed down when uncertainty from like COVID was like super high, but they got the risks to be controlled and accelerated construction when it was so. So during the PPM lines, these innovations directly helped Singapore to overcome its biggest constraint of land scarcity, and during this it unlocked new capacity. Overview of the performance oversights after construction. They developed a real-time monitoring situation where they had like full control of portfolios and monitoring systems where it ensured the actual energy output matched their projections. So a little bit about the data here that I described. They wanted up to 2 gigawatts of power by 2030, and with aiming to secure just 1.5 gigawatts by 2025. It's a massive leap from their baseline of 428 megawatts just in 2020. So with the PPM, this real-time data keeps the asset really aligned with all the milestones. So let's look over at a chart. Okay, so as we can see, solar capacity grew from 428 up to uh, 2 gigawatts in 2030. And the steep curve that occurred after 2020 shows like what happens when a project type is proven and capable, as we can see here. And over here from 2020 to 2000, it was still in the testing phase, so and the curve wasn't as steep yet. Okay, global impact and reach. So take the US for example. According to NREL, the US has the technical potential for more than 10 gigawatts of floating solar. That's more than 160 times of Tenge. And this resource space is huge, and it already had developing interest. And in California, by 2023, they are aiming to bring one of the largest floating solar projects online. So from a PPM perspective, the takeaway is simple. Case studies like Tenge reduce uncertainty to give decision makers real performance data, which makes project screenings and just new markets really that much faster. Moving on to the conclusions. From a portfolio perspective, three things matter: strategic alignment. Projects must solve national resource challenges. For Tengi, it dropped energy risk, and which supported the 2 gigawatt by 2030 stage. Speaking of stages, projects must also have stage gates with them and decision points to de-risk portfolios. With Tenge, that was the 2016 a waterbed test in which validated feasibility. And finally, innovating for constraints. Managers must select a type of projects that really do overcome constraints and not just add to them. For Tenge, the floating solar bypassed land security and just aided the portfolio in general. Okay, so looking forward, strong portfolios rely on three things: a digital app oversight to that tracks real-time performance through AI and live dashboards. So scalability, project models like once they've been proven, they need to be scalable for entire waft of regions. So based off that, the final oversights are that these projects must be validated, right? And they must be validated before it can work, and they must also meet the needs of not just its region, but a lot of regions all across the globe. So thank you.